Today, we're going to make Spanish feel smoother, faster, and much more natural. We're focusing on tiny but powerful words. Mi, te, lo, la, le, nos, and les. These little words are like sticky notes attached to people and things. Instead of repeating the full noun again and again, Spanish often swaps it out for one of these short words. And once you start hearing them, you'll notice them everywhere. The big idea is very practical. Sometimes the short word means the person or thing directly receives the action, like lo veo, I see it, or la veo, I see her. Sometimes it means the action is going to someone, like le doy el libro, I give him the book, or I give her the book. For today, don't worry about fancy grammar names too much. Just think of two jobs. One job is the thing or person directly involved. I see it, I call her. The other job is the receiver. I give him the book. I tell them the news. And here's the best shortcut. In Spanish, these little words usually stand before the verb. So instead of saying veo lo, which sounds broken, Spanish says lo veo. Not I see it word for word, but literally it I see. Same with mi llama, he calls me, and te doy, I give you. Tiny word first, then verb. That pattern will carry you a long way. Let's start with mi and te, because they're super common and very human. Mi means me. Te means you when talking to one person in an everyday way. How do you say he calls me every day in Spanish? Me llama todos los días. Me llama todos los días. Nice. Me llama todos los días. Literally, he calls every day. Spanish loves putting me before the verb. Now switch the person. How do you say I call you now in Spanish? Te llamo ahora. Te llamo ahora. Te llamo ahora. A quick side note, ahora means now, and the H is silent, so don't let it boss you around. Ahora. Smooth and easy. Let's build a memory trick. Me is for me, te is for you. Those two are your conversation words, your everyday ping-pong words. Me, te, me, te. If you're talking with someone directly, these pop up all the time. Now let's bring in lo and la. These are often used for it, him, or her, depending on what you're talking about. For this lesson, keep it practical. Lo often helps with masculine things or him. La often helps with feminine things or her. How do you say I see it in Spanish? Lo veo. Lo veo. Short, useful, elegant. Lo veo. I see it. How do you say I see her in Spanish? La veo. La veo. La veo. Good. Just one tiny change, but the meaning changes completely. Lo veo. I see it, or I see him in many everyday cases. La veo. I see her, or I see it, for a feminine thing. Here's a little trick. Imagine lo wearing a little blue hat, and la wearing a little red hat. Blue for masculine words, red for feminine words. Silly? Yes. Memorable? Also yes. Your brain loves weird little pictures. Let's make it more concrete. If we already know we're talking about el libro, the book, we can say lo veo, I see it. If we're talking about la película, the movie, we can say la veo, I see it. Why lo for libro and la for película? Because libro is masculine and película is feminine. And yes, película ends in A, which is a nice clue. Not every noun follows the usual pattern perfectly, but many do. Now let's look at le and les. These are extremely common with verbs like dar, to give. Think of le as to him, to her, or to you in a more formal context, though we'll keep it simple today. Think of les as to them. Again, don't get lost in grammar labels. Just think receiver. Who receives the thing? How do you say I give him the book? Le doy el libro. Le doy el libro. Le doy el libro. Literally, to him I give the book. Spanish often puts that receiver word right before the verb. How do you say I give them the books in Spanish? Les doy los libros. Les doy los libros. Les doy los libros. Great. Les is for them as receivers. A tiny side note. Libro becomes libros in the plural, and el becomes los. So los libros, the books. Let's compare two ideas, because this is where people often get mixed up. Lo veo means I see it. The thing itself is being seen. Le doy el libro means I give him the book. He is not the thing being given. He is the receiver. The book is the thing. Him is the receiver. If you remember that meaning difference, you'll make much better choices. Here's another useful one with nos. Nos means us. How do you say they call us at night in Spanish? Nos llaman por la noche. Nos llaman por la noche. Nos llaman por la noche. Nice. Por la noche means at night. A quick detour. Spanish often uses por with parts of the day in expressions like por la mañana, in the morning, por la tarde, in the afternoon, and por la noche, at night. Now let's add te again. How do you say, I see you, in Spanish? Te veo? Te veo. Te veo. Super useful. Maybe at the airport, maybe across the street, maybe while waving dramatically like you're in a movie. Te veo. And with me, how do you say she sees me in Spanish? Me ve. Me ve. Me ve. Notice how the little word stays before the verb again. That is one of the biggest patterns of today. Me ve, te llamo, lo veo, la veo, le doy, nos llaman, les doy. Tiny word, then verb. Tiny word, then verb. Let's make this feel even more natural with llamar, ver, and dar, because these are everyday verbs. Llamar is to call. Ver is to see. Dar is to give. If you can use these with the little words, you can already say a lot. Me llama, he calls me. Te llama, he calls you. Lo veo, I see it or him. La veo, I see her. Le doy agua, I give him water or I give her water. Nos llama, he calls us. Les doy café, I give them coffee. Quick side note, agua is a fun word. It's feminine, but we say el agua in the singular because it sounds better than la agua. But adjectives still act feminine. El agua fria, the cold water. Little detail, very common, and now you've seen it in passing. Now, one common mistake is putting the little word in the wrong place. Learners sometimes try things like veo lo or doy le, but in normal simple sentences, Spanish wants lo veo, le doy. So if your sentence feels wobbly, check the order. Little word first, then verb. Another common mistake is mixing up lo and le. A simple way to avoid that, if you can replace it with it or him as the thing directly being seen or called, lo or la may be what you need. If you can replace it with to him, to her, or to them as the receiver of something, le or le is probably the better fit. So lo veo, I see it, but le doy el libro, I give him the book. One more thing beginners often do is repeat the noun too much. Spanish usually prefers the shorter version once the context is clear. Instead of saying veo la película again and again, you can just say la veo. Instead of saying doy el libro a Maria every single time, once it's clear, you can often use le doy el libro. It sounds lighter and more natural. Let's try a few more together in a relaxed rhythm. How do you say I give you coffee? Te doy café. Te doy café. How do you say they see her in Spanish? La ven. La ven. How do you say we call them in Spanish? Les llamamos. Les llamamos. That last one is useful because llamar often works with people. Les llamamos, we call them. In some places and styles, people may phrase things differently, but for today, this gives you a clear, practical pattern you will hear and use. Now let's hear a short story. First, just listen. Ana tiene un libro nuevo. Le da el libro a su hermano por la mañana. Él la llama por la tarde. Ana no ve el teléfono, pero su madre lo ve. Después, Ana les escribe a sus amigos. Por la noche, sus amigos la llaman y ella se ríe. Now let's go line by line. Ana tiene un libro nuevo. Ana has a new book. Le da el libro a su hermano por la mañana. She gives the book to her brother in the morning. Él la llama por la tarde. He calls her in the afternoon. Ana no ve el teléfono, pero su madre lo ve. Ana doesn't see the phone, but her mother sees it. Después, Ana les escribe a sus amigos. After that, Ana writes to her friends. Por la noche, sus amigos la llaman y ella se ríe. At night, her friends call her, and she laughs. That story packs in the pattern beautifully. Le da, la llama, lo ve, les escribe, la llaman. Tiny word, then verb. Receiver or thing, then action. Let's do a fast memory reset. Me, te, you. Nos, us. Lo, it or him in many everyday cases. La, her or feminine it. Le, to him or to her as the receiver. Les, to them as the receivers. You do not need to memorize a giant chart right now. You need to feel what the sentence means. If the sentence is, I see it, think, lo veo. If the sentence is, I see her, think, la veo. If the sentence is, I give him the book, think, le doy el libro. If the sentence is, they call us, think, nos llaman. Meaning first, little word second, verb right after. Before we finish, one last little round. How do you say, I call you tomorrow, in Spanish? Te llamo mañana. Te llamo mañana. How do you say she gives them water in Spanish? Les da agua. Les da agua. How do you say we see it in Spanish? Lo vemos. Lo vemos. Excellent. You're not just learning words here. You're learning how Spanish avoids repetition and sounds natural. So here's your recap. These little words help replace people and things. Me, te, lo, la, le, nos, les. In simple everyday sentences, they usually go before the verb. Lo veo, la veo, me llama, te llamo, le doy el libro, nos llaman, les doy café. Keep asking yourself one question. Is this the thing directly involved, or the person receiving something? That one question solves a lot. And if this still feels a little slippery, that's completely normal. These tiny words are small, but they do big work. The good news is they repeat constantly in real Spanish, so every conversation gives you another chance to lock them in. You're building a very useful instinct. Keep going, keep listening, and next time you hear me, llama, or lo veo, or le doy, you'll smile because your brain will say, hey, I know exactly what's happening here.